subsisting hacking and hobbling and fucking around, and I've maybe gotten, the first run, I've got a stable gay identity that I'm mostly proud of, and that's subsistence. And it was just like, kind of going down into the pit. It was real hard to stay with, so I was sort of like really reading it, put my fingers out to stay along with it. And it was like, something kind of started calming down. I know that I don't have to be at the top 7th round in it. I've seen visions of radiance. I've seen radiance, at times when I was in love or on drugs or just really turned on. So that sort of kind of calmed me down a little bit. And somewhere when you got towards the end of it, when you started talking, it was when you were talking about the wealthily, more verdant portal, a superior being coming. It was like, okay, we're still here. We're still sort of getting through this. So I could relate to what you were talking about saying like, where's the vision? Where's the vision? And I could also relate to feeling like I couldn't stay with the vision when I heard it. But I got through it. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Larry.
You really helped me see my gay history a little better. And it kind of started out with you, Roger. You were talking about being a shut-down kid, and I was thinking about how all my growing up until I was like 18, 20 was all about stuffing down really meaningful feelings and really feelings that came, such great feelings. And at that point, when I started really coming out, I had such anger that it was really easy to kind of let go, and I was fueled by that. And after being fueled by that and letting it go, then the anger kind of subsides, and I'm more accepting of this heterosexism, which is like the sky. And nobody talks about the sky. And you help me, this talk and this group helps me kind of find that anger and that fuel again.
So there can be a positive effect of a dark feeling like anger.
Oh, nothing. It brings you in contact, brings me in contact.
Yeah. Lloyd?
I'm Lloyd, and I'm feeling a lot of, I'm shaking. I'm feeling a lot of inferiority. I started out, when I got in here, when I sat down, I started to feel inferior because you don't know me, and usually everybody else does. And so I had this lower status feeling of, oh my God, he doesn't know who I am, and there's this narcissistic kid that wants to be the center of attention. So I could feel that when I sat down that, how do I go up there and introduce, how do I make myself known in this place? I can't stand this idea of not being, somebody not focusing on me. Then you started your speech, and I really got into it. The last time the speech went over my head, and I totally blanked out. And this time I was with it for about the time that Philip was with us, for about 5 pages, and I was really excited about it. And then something happened, just, I don't know if it's my attention span or whatever, and I just flaked out for about, I would say about a minute, and then I went back and I tried to find where I was, and I tried to reread while you were going on, and it was just like, oh my God, okay, start from here, and there was no going back, and I was, damn, I wish, and so all I did for, about 45 minutes was just follow along, and nothing penetrated. It was an uncomfortable experience, although I got into, I was actually quite angry at you. My kids were very, very angry. They started to say, you're just being arrogant, you're just doing this to boost yourself up and at my expense, and so they got really, really angry at you. And now I'm feeling a lot of shame over my shame.
Did that stay through the whole rest of my speech, my speaking, this attitude?
Yeah, for the last, I could not get back to intuiting or just feeling what you were saying. It was, okay, that big words at the beginning that I didn't know, I don't know. And big words at the end were, fuck it, why don't I know these words, just, things just took over. Nothing penetrated. But one good thing was, I did say to myself, you'll go back. Last time it was like, fuck this. And this time it was, you'll go back and you'll reread it maybe with a dictionary next to you, just to try and get what the essence is of it.
That's a big reason that I wanted to make sure that there was a hard copy available of this speech, because it is such a nature, it's the way I just produce written things now, that they have so much put into them that they can be unpacked at great length over a long period of time. It's not expected that as you listen to me read it, that you or anyone listening should instantly know and understand what is being said. It's understandable people, you might have shadow reactions to that phenomenon, but that does not detract from the intention that it's not necessary to understand what's being said. If one is interested in what's being said, because it's a hard copy, it's a written thing, one can go back to it over and over as necessary, if one should want to. So that it can be returned, like a well, returned to over and over again, hopefully over an extended period of time, to get the real picture of what is in the talk. It's designed like that. And I very much appreciate that this may have a confounding effect, it may have a thwarting effect, and when verbally delivered, because you have to be right there, when you're listening, you have to be right there with it. Oh, it's a lot of stuff, and it doesn't quit. You see, it went on for more than an hour. Like this. There's a lot of damn words, and you should have seen all the words I took out. But it is challenging stuff on these different levels on account of, you see how it's possible to react to this. So, but I prefer at this point, I might change later on, but I prefer at this point, Lloyd, to present too much than too little. We live in a culture which is way too little. And so I look at a lot of what I do as compensatory to that. And that's why I'm so introverted, so focused on knowledge that's gained through introversion and going inside, because our culture is extremely extroverted and attacks introversion. So I make sure to push an ideology of strict introversion. That's not because autonomously or independently I'm only introverted, but as a compensation for terrible one-sidedness, a monstrous one-sidedness. So it's an introvert message which is designed to have layer after layer after layer, and not at all seem transparent or clear necessarily in the beginning. If one can get past the shadow stimulation that may provoke.
We do need to start wrapping up. Is there maybe one more person who would like to share? Someone who hasn't shared before?
Can't see her.
Benita. Hi.
I'm Benita. I was just wondering about where this work intersects with what's going on in queer theory and that part of the gay movement that's not about assimilation, but is about embracing the queerness in everybody. I'm just curious about where you think this might have in common with that or intersect with that.
Well, so I am egging on this sensibility of getting away from straightness, getting away from normality, getting away from assimilationism quite forcefully. So it's very much, in that sense, aligned with queer sorts of theories or approaches. But you notice where I differ from that, I used the word queer once, but I use it in its typical adjective sense, odd or funny or different, with the implication of being homosexual behind that. But where it's different from perhaps most of the queer approaches is I look at queer approaches as being generic between what's strictly homosexual and what's not strictly homosexual. You can be queer and bi, you can be queer and fluid, you could say transsexual is queer, okay? And because of that, in my opinion, usage of the word queer dilutes gay liberation.
So you think that it's more essential, the homosexual is more fixed? Is that what you mean? As opposed to queer, which is more fluid?
Or I'm looking at the word queer as a more general word, and homosexual is more specific within that.
Oh.
Okay? And I'm opposed to using the word queer to substitute for the word homosexual. I think that's homophobia. Vicious, violent homophobia. And I'm very opposed to it. Homosexual should be homosexual. And queer ideology often erases all that. We're all queer, which is true, in my opinion. But I'm interested in the specificity of being homosexual, the exactness of being same gender oriented. I'm not interested in other phenomena. And I want terms and words that describe that specificity. And I'm very opposed to queer ideas and to deconstructionist modernism in general on account of that.
So you think it's a fixed, essential part of an identity?
For those who would experience it that way. If you don't experience it that way, it's not that way. But if you do experience it that way, it is that way. So it's a little something. I could go, you're broaching something I could go on. I could begin to go on for hours. It's a whole other topic. Oh, it's a good question.
Well, we actually are out of time for this evening. Next week, Doug and Chris will have their intermediate activity, and there's a flyer in your chair that you can learn more about that, or talk to Doug and Chris about it if you're not familiar with it. And then a month from tonight, on February 7th, Mitch will be offering part 2 of this lecture series. And I hope you'll all join us on February 7th again to hear the second part of Mitch's lecture series. So, and also you have evaluations that are at the back of the text of the lecture. And if you could fill those out and bring them back to the front desk for us, that would be great. And one more reminder, if you want to be on the mailing list, please see Dustin at the front desk. All right, everybody.
Thank you.